Stacy with So Steady, and I am back with Ann Moore and the amazing Flower Power series. We are in our final class of the Flower Power, just days before the 4th of July. And I don't know, Ann, I just think that all of the colorfulness that you have in these designs reminds me of some of the colorfulness that we see over the 4th of July. So just with the bright colors and everything else. So I'm super excited to have this as our final class just days before that. And let's talk a little bit about what's going to be expected today. We just sent out a class handout for the final handout, and you're going to talk a little bit about the handout for the borders. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to be looking for lots and lots of questions in the chat to get over to Ann so she can answer questions for you along the way today. And we're going to have some final giveaways with this being the last class. And we'll look forward to hearing what maybe Ann has next for us in store for the future. There's going to be some details about how people can keep watching these videos. So that's coming to you soon. So stay tuned for that in the class today. And other than that, I think we've got 2 more weeks to take advantage of the exclusive discounts that we had for the whole Flower Power series. So we definitely want you to encourage you to do that. And other than that, I think we're ready to go.
Okay.
So Ann, I'll have you take over.
All right. Thank you. The last 2 blocks we'll do today, and I had to flip the quilt actually upside down so that you could get a better view of it. This is Milky Way, and this is Spin Out. And then, of course, we're also going to address the borders. Now, you don't have a handout yet for the borders because it occurred to me very late last night that might be something that you wanted, even though they're very, very simple, and we are going to go over them today. So look for that. I'll work on that this weekend, get it over to So Steady so they can get it out to you guys. So again, Milky Way, Spin Out, and borders. We're going to start with Spin Out. I love this unusual design that I put in here. This one is worked on kind of an offset, and you also have little curvy edges right here that we'll be playing with. So I'm ready to take this around to the sewing machine. So Stacy, if you'll take over for a minute or 2, I will take my camera and go set up around the corner.
Absolutely. That sounds great. So yeah, let's go ahead and talk about what we can do to just kind of remind everybody about some of those exclusive discounts that we've got here. So with the Flower Power series, we did have the opportunity to be able to have just some really dedicated class supplies that included, of course, the Flower Power template set and some of the essentials that Ann's used along the way. Some of those include like the Circleworks outer rim tool. Some of them included all of those pre-cut fabrics. That's always an awesome option. In addition to that, we had, and this is the outer rim tool. I wanted to make sure everybody knew. Sometimes this can be a little bit hard to find because outer rim is 2 separate words. But this is located right here on the class supply page on page 2. TempLee fuse, so just some of the essentials that we've had along the way. So that's the class supply. I'll send a link to that here in a moment for everybody. All right, Ann, it looks like you're all set up here.
I think that I am. Let's go ahead and talk about the rulers that are in this set. Let me raise this a little bit higher so you can see a little bit better. This is the Flower Power Block 6-piece template set that I've been using the entire time, in addition to that outer rim tool, and there's mine, in addition to the Circleworks outer rim tool. Funny thing, the outer rim tool was actually designed as a drawing tool, but you saw how I used it. I attached it and turned it into part of my template, which was, I think, a lot of fun. The ruler set that you have, hopefully you already have it. We don't only send you out there with just a package of rulers and say, have fun, get after it, good luck. We don't do that. We actually give you instruction on how to use each template inside the paperwork that comes with that set of rulers. So I just wanted to open this and show it to you one last time. Now, the little 5 on the back tells me that that goes in bin 5 when I'm done with my templates. I finally, over the years, have accumulated enough that I have to kind of categorize them a little bit. And so that was my method that I came up with. Here are the rulers that are in the Spinifex set. This is Spinifex number 4, a 1.5 and a 2.5, so you get 2 for 1. And I love that because, and you know, I've used both of these a lot in this 12 block ruler. So you'll be actually seeing it again today. Here is the 6-inch arc. And I've got mine marked to death today because I'm going to be using it on the spin out in just a little bit. And I wanted to go ahead and pre-mark those. And I will talk to you about these little arrows as we get to them. Always between the lines circles. This happens to be my favorite size. It's the 1/2 inch. These are so popular, they come in 1/4 inch all the way up to 2 inch. So you can order them that way online too. If you haven't already, and they're really a go-to set of rulers. I consider them as part of my everyday use kind of rulers. Here is the continuous heart. We've been using it throughout the uh, making of this quilt also. Are y'all excited? You're almost ready to put your quilt together. I'm loving that. And hopefully you already know how to do the quilt as you go method. And we addressed that in, I think it was class number 2. And you may find some other instruction out on the web, but I I love doing that method because I can work on a queen size quilt if I want to, and all I have under my machine are the small blocks until I start putting it together, and then that's still really easy also. So anyway, here's our continuous heart, and we'll use it in the border today. It's a 3 by 1.5 and a 2 by 1 inch, and when you get them together in your set, they're connected like this, but they're really 2 separate rulers, and you can use them together or separately, either one. And then, of course, our good trusty 8 by 2.5 inch straight line ruler has your right angles in here. We'll be using, I use those a lot, and my, of course, a 90-degree also. This is great for ditch stitching. It's great for just creating straight lines. You know, anything like that that you would need. I tried to, when I put this set of rulers together, I tried to think of everything that would be a good sampling of everything that we have out there, and a little bit of how to of, you know, if you got, say, the heart ruler or something like that, because of you've already done the flower power set, that you would also be able to know how to use that heart set of rulers as well. So a good sampling of the different kinds of rulers that we have. Also, let's see. This is my go-to guy. I love this great big 12.5 inch crosshair ruler. I made all of my blocks 12.5 inches, and I was able to use this tool, this ruler, and actually use it as a cutting ruler when I was through with each one of my blocks. That's what I used to square it up. And I don't know if you've ever used a 6-inch by 24-inch ruler to try to square up a 12.5 inch square block, but I have, and I find this works a whole lot better. I'm not I don't end up shorting uh, something by a 1/4 of an inch or an 1/8 of an inch or something like that. So very, very, very important to me. you have the handouts for the spin out block. Here was my drawing for the spin out block, and we'll talk about it a little bit. I used my 8-point crosshair ruler, drew out all my lines, and then of course I connected 2 of the lines in the middle. And they can be these lines right here or these. You can connect all 8 if you want to. Doesn't matter. And then I drew along the outline all the way around it, just so I knew that this is my stitching line, and stop and don't stitch outside that line because most of that's going to be cut away anyway. Here is the block finished in a little bit different color than what you're used to. This is some of Sew Steady's fabric, and I think it's just absolutely beautiful. Trying to get that, make sure that's high enough you can see it. This is one of their oranges, and of course it has a coordinating fabric to go for the back. You can use that front or back, either one. But they have, I don't know, 14, 16 different colors of their fabrics, and they're beautiful. They're already cut into 14 by 15 inches squares. So all I did was square up my block when I was finished and just cut away what I did not need. So it made my work a whole lot simpler to do. Here is my prepared block for today for the spin out ruler, or spin out block, I should say. And of course, I've already drawn in my lines and everything. Now, I went ahead, I've got to find it real quick. I have put in some of the work to make it a little bit faster for you, since we really have 3 things that we need to go over today. But what I've set it up as, you're still going to be seeing the basics of everything. So let me grab that block really quick. And I wanted to put some of this in so that it would go a little bit faster for us. I want you to notice on my arc, let's grab my arc template again and let's talk about it, because that's where all of those little arrows are going to come in that I have. On the very first set of lines, I used the blue arrows. That lined me up because I wanted to go from the center point right here, and I wanted to come down and just touch the where I have the chalk line right here. So I figured out how big I wanted that to be, and in your handout it says that you will actually mark it from 5 inches, which is point to point, and then when you stitch it out, you're going to be exactly a 1/4 of an inch away. So it's going to stitch out to be a 5.5 inch half circle or half oval. So I want you to be aware of that. Now, when we come to this other side, I've marked it again. Here's my green arrows that I'll be using. So I wanted to be, here's my 1/4 inch away, right there. And I wanted to touch this line right here and be a 1/4 of an inch away. So if you'll notice, this little design is offset. Your point would actually be maybe out here somewhere. But I wanted, excuse me, excuse me. I wanted this first line, which is going to, this creates our spin out effect. Makes the block look like it's spinning. So anyway, you point up over here, and it's not quite halfway in between from here to here and here to here. So it could be, if you want to come back a little further, you can. I just chose not to. And then of course I come along and put the little teardrops in, and I have to kind of match those up with this line right here, which is offset about, I would say, 1/8 of an inch over. So please be aware of that if you put these in and you try to watch where your line is. You're going to be off a little bit. Now let's talk about how my setup is. I have a new machine. This is the Bernina B790. Let's see if I can get this over here where you can see it. pull this way. So that's what I will be using today. Now I had a couple of choices when I bought this machine. I've had my koala cabinet for, oh, years. I don't even remember how many years I've had it now. Hold on. There we go. And I could do an insert, or I could do just a table and an insert. And I decided, you know what, I really didn't want to go to the expense of a table and an insert both. So I bought the table and I set it on top of my koala cabinet, brought my machine base up to match that. Let's pull this off so you can see a little better. So now I have this huge, really slick working surface to work from, and I really, really like it that way. Sorry, it's a little bit messy, but at least maybe you can kind of see what I'm talking about. And this is my favorite table. It's the Wish table. It has this row of holes right here so that I can drop a circle maker in it, and I can make additional circle sizes besides the up to 2 inch that we talked about earlier. This goes from to about 24 inches. So if you love making modern quilts, that is perfect. It also, when it's not in my cabinet, I have a tray that goes underneath it. And so whenever I travel, like go to retreats or go somewhere to teach and take this machine, I will take my whole table setup, including its legs and the insert for the tray, and I'll have it set up that way then. So it makes it nice. I don't have an insert that I have to store part of the time, or a table that I have to store part of the time. And I have this huge working surface. My ruler work glider, which I'll be using today, also clings to it very, very nicely. Bring up my threads again. There we go. And I like working with the ruler work glider mainly if I'm working with a thumbtack. Now today we're not using a template that requires a thumbtack, but if I were, it's kind of nice because I've got this really small little opening right there, right below where my ruler foot is, and that's just perfect. I also have the grid glider, and I'll use it, and it works just the same way as this glider right here. The only difference is the cutaway over here is more of a rectangle, and it opens up my feed dogs too. So guess what I use that grid glider for? I use it when I'm piecing quilts and making a lot of. Like I was working on a bag recently, and I had a lot of straight lines to sew. These things make your fabric just glide right along. Like to me, it compares to someone out on ice skates. That's how nice it is. It doesn't get away from you or anything like that, but it just gives you a nice slick surface. And I know Stacy was going to let me tease you a little bit about some of the upcoming classes that we have. I have a tote bag that I have made off and on for the last 2 years. It's a design that I created, and it's a pretty simple tote bag. And it occurred to me, I've made some of those harder bags out there. I won't name any names, but they have lots of zippers and pockets and things like that. And they're beautiful and they're a lot of fun. I made 4 of the exact same kind one time and said I'd never do that again because it takes a lot of time. They're great though. But there are times when I need various sizes of tote bags, like a great big one when I want to carry a quilt somewhere, or maybe a smaller one when I want to go shopping or when we're traveling or something like that. So I use the same basic pattern every time, and I recently put it together as a class. It is about to be on So Steady University. It's called the Back to Basics Tote Bag, and about once a quarter or sooner, however often these ideas come to my head, we're going to create, or I'm going to create, a new face or a new design for your tote bag. The construction of the bag will be the same. but you will be able to put a new design on the front of the bag. So that's coming along. I think we've got Christmas in the summer coming along. There'll be some projects for table runners. There'll be a project for a tote bag. There'll be a couple of projects for um, placemats. And then some of the other instructors have some things going on too for Christmas in the summer. So be watching for those. And then I think in the fall, or maybe even a month from now, we may get into Annie's sampler for you as some of these classes. So stay tuned. We have lots going on. And I thank So Steady for the opportunity to get to create and have fun. Who would have thought I ever would have had a job where I get to play? Who would have thought? How fun is that? So, anyway, we're ready to get started. I've said my 2 cents worth, so let's get you going quilting. Now, this is what I was talking about earlier. Uh, and you see, we've got this one long line and it's double stitched. I figured it would be easier if I would just come all the way back up to the top rather than cutting my threads down here and having to bury them. So we have a double line all the way, and then what I want to do and what I did when I did this one is I did all of the ones, and I've got 3 of them to make for you. But I went ahead and did all of the long ones first, and then I came back in and put the short ones. So let's do that. We're going to pretend we're going to start over right here, and we're just going to pretend like this is the very first one. I'm going to pull this back a little bit more so that you can kind of see the whole thing going on. Think that's going to get you where you need to see everything, or where you can see everything. Now, you know me, I love my gloves. The brand I happen to be using is Machingers. They're my favorites because they're so lightweight. They do get dirty. This is the set I think I've been using for the entire class. And what I do is I will take them in the house, spray them down really good with spray and wash or whatever, and then wash them with a load of whites. I don't bleach them. I usually use what's that stuff called? It's not coming to me. It's a white powdery kind of stuff that you can add to your whites instead of bleach. I use that, whatever that is. Anyway, I put that in there, and then I just take them out of the washer, put them on top of the washing machine, and just let them dry there before I start wearing them again. And that gets them pretty clean. You don't want to dry them because, yes, they will shrink. And number two, dryers and rubber fingertips do not work together really well at all. So keep that in mind. Turn this a little bit more. Okay, I think that might be ideal. I think you can see pretty good. I'm lining up. Here's my blue arrow. That's the ones we're going to be working with first. Here's my blue arrow down here. I'm just going to line it up with this straight line that I did with my 8-point crosshair ruler. And then I'm ready to stitch. Need to hold that for a couple of stitches, so I'm just going to put my hand on my template like this. As soon as I get far enough away from those stitches, I will put my hand over here, hold the ruler, and release this hand that was holding the threads, and kind of put it back on here and shift it again, because I want to be comfortable, and I want to show you, of course, the proper use for holding your templates. Right, got my fingers on that one. Let's get that over there. The reason I do this is I don't want to end up with those threads underneath my quilt. Somebody is invariably going to turn your quilt over and see the back side of it. And you want your back side to look as good as the front side. I've already adjusted the tension on my machine. My feed dogs are lowered. This machine, I have to tell it what foot I'm using. This is the Bernina number 72. It is a ruler foot. If you have a Bernina machine, I suggest that you get Bernina's ruler foot. Some of the other companies, Janome, it comes to mind. They also make their own ruler feet, and I recommend that you get them if you have access to them. If not, So Steady has you covered. We have 6 different feet out there that will fit anything from a Singer slant needle machine all the way to a Gamble quilting machine. And we can even fit your featherweight machine if that's what you would like to be able to do your ruler work with. So here we are ready to go. Going to do 4 tiny stitches because these are stitches I'm not going to bury. Okay, I'm far enough away now I can kind of shift my hand and relax it a little better. I might want to put my thumb down here on the edge to hold it. And notice I was holding my template with my other hand while I made this shift. That's really important. If I were to even wiggle it just a little bit, I would be off track and it would probably show, especially since I'm using a light blue thread and purple fabric. Stitch all the way down. Stop when I hit that line, and then I'm going to go backwards. And I'm just going to stitch backwards. I'm not going to turn anything around. I've not shifted my ruler in any way, so it's good to go. And I'm just using my fingers over here just to kind of help guide me and pull me right back in that direction. Stop when I get to the center. Now I would like to go ahead and reach in and cut those threads and get them out of my way. So I've got a great piece of pair of curved scissors. This brand is Famori, but Tooltron makes them. Several companies make that kind of a tool, and that they're the best to me for clipping threads. Now let's go on to the next one and line it up. My arrows all pointed where they need to be. Okay, and I'm ready to go. Just nice even stitches. By the way, if you are using your Bernina and you have the BSR tool, we have a new table for that where you can actually use your BSR. Mine is not connected today, but it will be after this. I've already pulled the wiring and gotten it ready to go. I've used it. I really like it. I was at a show recently and demonstrated for 3 days, and I used it for 2 days. The only reason I didn't use it the third day is because we had a So Steady instructor with us also teaching classes, and she needed it one of those days. It's a very, very nice tool. I highly recommend it. It gives you nice, even stitches. In other words, you won't have half-inch, quarter-inch stitches. They'll all be just whatever you've set it to. Actually, if you set it on 2.0, your stitches are going to be 2.0. Very, very nice. All right, I'm ready to turn this around and go ahead and start making the other part of the pebble. So here we go. I'm going to line this up right here where it's pointed, and that's the green. Let's see. I've got Stacy in there too. Hopefully y'all can see what I'm looking at. There we go. All right, and there we go. I'm ready to put in the other side of my flower petal. Just stitching down, touching the line, coming right back up. And if you want to make your flower petals a little bit wider, or even shorter, do. I love to go and please be sure and post your work on Westerly by me. I love to go in there and see what you're doing. So many of you have been doing that, and it's wonderful. It's kind of like a proud mama when I go in there and I find one of my students who's been working on this quilt, and she's posted or he's posted their designs. Kind of have to go show everybody, oh, look what my student did. This is great. So yeah, we're very proud when you do that. So please post those for us. Okay, got one more to make. I'm just lining everything up. There's my arrow right here and my arrow up here. Let's move that on. Get a good grip on my ruler. I don't want to grip it so tight that I can't move my fabric. And I want my hand to be somewhat relaxed on my ruler. We can go ahead and lower those fingers. You don't want to be so stiff doing this that by the end of the day you're exhausted. I remember when I was first learning to do this, oh, at the end of the day, my shoulders would be so tired. And then I learned to relax. And then every time I thought about it, I would remember to put my shoulders down. And that helped a whole lot. Now, we're through with this little guy, so I'm going to put him out of the way. I don't want to bury those threads, so let's go ahead and just raise everything, bring up my bobbin thread, and I'm going to cut it here on the top using those great little scissors I showed you just a few minutes ago. Something you need to know too, a lot of people don't realize this, when you're adjusting your tension, make sure your presser foot is raised. And the reason being, when you've got your ruler foot down, your tension discs are engaged. When your ruler foot is up, your tension is not engaged. Like I'll show you an example. See how I can easily pull out this thread? If I engage it, I can't pull it out. It's really stiff. So that's a way to know whether if you're having a hard time pulling your thread loose, that means your tension is engaged. So raise your ruler foot up, your presser foot. We're ready to put these little guys in. I've left a couple of them for us to do today, but I have to grab the ruler. Give me just a second. It was just out of reach for these short arms. I don't know about you guys, but every time I buy clothes that have long sleeves, I have to alter them. And that is so annoying. I buy 3/4 length sleeves many, many times just so I don't have to alter them. Isn't that awful? I know how to alter. I don't like to. Let's just put it that way. Okay. Here is how I'm lining up for my little loose petal that's out here, my little design, my little teardrop. On this ruler, Leonie kind of thought of everything she thought we might need, and she put them in this ruler. There's a straight line right here for lining this up if I wanted to do like complete flowers. There's another line down here that lets me know I'm exactly 1/4 of an inch away. And then she's put a couple of lines right back here. Well, I've decided on my teardrop that I want to use this line right here. It's right inside my key, so it may be a little bit harder for you guys to see. I have started using clear tape in my keys because I think it's just easier whenever I'm showing you something instead of the satin. I'll show you what it is. It's just the one called the gloss finish, and it gives you a nice clear tape instead of that satin look that to me is harder for you guys to see through. So here we go. Here's my line right here. I'm going to put it right there. I'll put my pointer out of the way. By the way, this is a Sew Steady pointer. In case you are needing one, they're pretty handy. I seem to use that a lot. All right, and remember, I'm going to be offset. So I've got to adjust this over a little ways. By offset, I mean here is my 8-point crosshair line. I can't line up right on it. If I do, I'm over to the side. I don't want to be over to the side. I want to be in the center of this design, these two petal, the opening between the two petals. So I'm going to drop my feed dog. No, I'm sorry, not my feed dog. I'm going to drop my presser foot in the center of the opening. You never, and I know I tell you this every single time, but you never want to drop your presser foot on top of your template or even on the edge. In the classes I've taught in the past, I have seen some machines want to force their way through that template, and you can end up breaking something. You can end up having to have your tension on your, not your tension, your, what's it called? Not your tension. Oh, there's something timing. You would have to have your timing adjusted on your machine because it can make your tension kind of go out of timing or make your machine go out of timing. I just want to say tension so bad. I already have my tension adjusted. Just taking a couple of extra stitches there. Raise your needle bar up before you raise your presser foot up, especially if you are using one of our ruler feet. We've just learned in the past you've really got to make sure that your needle bar is up before you try to raise your presser foot up. It just helps, and it keeps that needle bar or presser foot from getting stuck. If it does get stuck, though, there is a way to get that fixed. You just turn off your machine and turn it back on, and that will readjust everything. It does happen. And you know what? I've got a pesky fly in here again, but you know what I have handy? My secret weapon. I brought the fly swatter to the table this time. So he can't bother me too badly today. I think the last two classes I've had a fly bothering me. And I'll tell you how those get in here. I run in the door and I shut the door very quickly behind me. My husband does not. He comes to the door, opens it, and stands in the doorway to tell you something. And I'm going, shut the door, shut the door, shut the door. We've got flies. Oh, yeah. So he's the reason I have to fight flies. Anyway, I'm just going to blame it on him anyway. That, or you have to wait on the dog to come in, and they're sometimes a little bit slower. They like to come out here in my studio where I'm working. In fact, they're both out here now napping. That's about par. Can't depend on them to help for anything.
Hey, Ann, can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Hey, Ann, it's Sarah here. Stacy's in between connectivity, so I'm going to cover a little bit. But we did have a question that came through.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
And the question was, at the beginning of sewing, what line on the template is the blue arrow on?
That's
I don't know if that
a
was
very good question. Let's bring that over. Let me get this just kind of out of my way for now. But let's talk about that. It is really, there is a line. Can you see this long line right here?
Yeah, that's the straight one between the two arrows, right?
Yeah. But now we're not using it for the green arrow. I needed an even bigger semicircle than that. So I lined up on this line right here, but then I chose another one out here, and it's actually, there are a couple of little lines out here on the template. Can you see those? I've got one of them partially covered up, but I actually chose the first line, and we can go ahead and remove that. We're through with it. See that long line right there? That's the one I used. And then there's another one out here that I did not use. That would have gotten me even further out. But that was the first. They're not actually lined up with each other, but they're registration marks on this template that I could use. So hope that answered your question.
Yes, that's like your reminder where you're stopping and where you're starting.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Good
And
use of those stickers for
oh,
sure.
listen, if you don't have those stickers, please get them. Wow. In the past, I would mark them actually with like a magic marker or something, and then I'd be trying to scrub my lines off and things like that. And you don't want to do that. You really don't. It those arrows, they're inexpensive, and you get 192 of them. You'll have them from now on. Huh, I'm stuck. What's going on here? Uh-oh. Let me turn my machine off and back on and see if this will reset. I'm not sure what's going on, but my bobbin thread does not want to come up. So let's just reset it. Here we go. It'll take it just a minute. And it's going to make all kinds of funny noises. Something's caught for sure. But I hope that helped you answer the questions about where I put my, where I started and stopped. All right, you know what? I'm going to actually cut that from the back and not try to pull it through. I'm not sure what's going on with it. I did disengage it though, so that will help. Yeah, I'll pull that one up later on.
Hey, Ann, did we address the question? We had one that came out regarding any tips to remove the grid glider from the tube it comes in. Was that addressed at all?
That's a good $64 question. Yeah. Here's kind of what I do. If you can't force it, yeah, it's kind of stuck in there. What I'll do is take my thumb, and if I can get that inside there. Okay, my glider inside here. Let's see, where is it? It's kind of going counterclockwise. So I'm going to take my thumb and I'm going to roll it counterclockwise. And then I'm able to pull that whole thing out. What I'm doing is tightening up because when it gets inside this tube, it gets really tight. And I'm just kind of loosening that tightness that it has. And that's how I would pull it out. And I roll it really tight then to put it back in. I wouldn't recommend putting a piece of tape on it or anything like that though. But yeah, that's what I do. I just roll it with my thumb, like counterclockwise or something. And you may even have to not dampen your thumb, but kind of moisturize it just a tiny bit. Maybe rub your fingers together or something like what I'm doing right there, just to kind of give it a little bit of a friction. Kind of like when you're trying to open one of those plastic bags in the produce section. You know, sometimes you just have to have a little moisture to it so that you can get it open. And you don't want a lot of moisture, but you want a little bit.
That's exactly how I do it too, Ann. I was like, make it a little tighter in the tube, and it'll be able to slide right out. We did have another question come in. Oh, and the person that asked that question, they got it. They tried it. Now it works.
Oh, perfect. Okay.
For that. And regarding that previous ARC template, the green sticker, was that important for your designing right now?
It was.
Okay.
Yeah. I tell you what, let me pull this up real quick.
Sure.
And then I'll turn it around. I'll bring that template again. Great questions. Please keep asking them. We really appreciate it when you ask. Sometimes, not everybody knows exactly how they want to answer or how to ask a question. And you may come along and ask exactly what they're asking about. So that's really important. And it's good to us to know, too, that maybe we didn't clarify something quite as much as we thought we maybe had. Okay, the green arrows were how I lined up for the opposite side of the flower petal. Remember, we've got kind of a spinning design going on out here. So I didn't want to connect here at the bottom and come back up. I wanted the spin. This is the little spinning part of it. So I wanted to come back this way a couple of inches. And I just kind of chose where did I want that to be? So what I did was I used, lined up back here and put a green arrow so I'd know, okay, that's where I need to start every single time. And then my green arrow here, there's a long straight line kind of right that divides this template into right here. And I'm pointing to that actual arrow, to that straight line is where I'm pointing. And that's where I wanted to be able to stop as soon as I touch that longer arc. And I always put that longer arc on the right hand side. That way, to me, if I'm looking at it and say it were spinning, it would be spinning in a clockwise motion. Now, if you were to make this one your longer one, you can do it, but you'll be spinning in a counterclockwise motion. So hope that answered that. And I probably should have pulled out my hot. There are 3 colors of these. There's a hot pink, there's this lime green, and then there's this turquoise. And maybe the hot pink would have differentiated a little bit better, but I'm hoping that kind of told you. And in the handout you've got, it tells you how far apart you want these 2 stickers, and then what length it's going to actually end up with, because your ruler foot is 1/4 of an inch away from the edge of your or not your ruler foot, but your needle is 1/4 of an inch away from the ruler foot edge. So that's going to give you a line that's, actually 1/4 of an inch out here. So that's going to lengthen your design by 1/2 an inch. So hopefully that helped. If not, ask it again, and I'll see if I can maybe grab a scrap and show it to you again or something like that. Because I definitely want you to get it. And I know on the handout, I tried to go in very, very good detail, just showing you exactly what I meant there. So hopefully that helped. We are ready to go ahead and put another of the little petals in place, a little teardrop. Let's pull up threads. Now, I don't know about you, but I always like for my top thread to be underneath my presser foot. That's just a go-to for me. That way I can hold it with one hand and I'm not chasing it around. So big deal to me. Hopefully it is to you too. I'm dropping my ruler foot right back in the center of the opening of that template. Going to put my gloves back on because I do like them really well. I have a dog in here snoring. That's so funny. Remember, it's going to be offset each time. Let's do a couple, 1, 2 stitches, and then I'm going to pull my needle up, my presser foot up, and just come in and pull the bobbin thread to the top. I will bury those later on, and I've shown you that enough times that hopefully you have that. If not, come along and say, hey, please do it again. Now, remember about the tension. I can pull this away, but if I raise up my presser foot, it's so much easier to pull. And I can get a lot more bobbin thread up if I do that. So here we are. I've pulled up all 4 threads. And they're stuck. Here we go. Okay, and we've done 4 of those. I think you've got the general idea on that. So let's go ahead and move out to the edge. Now I've done a curved edge on this, and this is actually going to be cut away. So here's how I did that. I looked at it and I thought, I could come in here, but then I don't really know where I want to start. If I keep going, then that's going to put me way up out here where I don't need to be. I know I need to line up with that little center line. Right here, I need to put that on the center line that comes down. So, okay, I've got that part. But where do I want to start and stop over here? So what I decided to do was pull it down here, pull it all the way to the line, and I'll bring this around so you can see what I'm talking about. Here's that edge right there. Here's my draw where I drawn line telling me don't stitch past this. And then here it is over here again, telling me don't stitch past that. So this is out here in what I call no man's land. I'm going to drop my presser foot and I'm just going to stitch around that corner just because I can. Let's drop the needle. Sorry, I bumped the thing. And remember, I'm out in no man's land, so I really don't care if I get a bird's nest underneath. But if I did care, I can reach back here and pull these both and just kind of put them to the side. Now, all I'm going to do is stitch around this corner very slowly, please. Do about 3 or 4 little stitches right there because that's actually where I'm going to be cutting. Okay, just come around. Need to adjust my hand some more. So here we go. Need to adjust it again. The needle bar wants to hit my hand.
You know, Anne, I was wondering if it might be a good time to tell everybody that we're going to be making this class available on the university for them all to have forever.
I love it. Yes, let's do that.
So there's been a lot of inquiries about how long, excuse me, how much longer everyone's going to have available to be able to watch this series. And Ann and I talked this morning, and we've decided that we're going to make this available on the university. So if you paid for the series, then you're going to have access to the full series indefinitely through a coupon code that we're going to give you for the university class. So we're working on getting it loaded. It's not available quite yet, but you'll be able to access these videos for another 4 weeks, and then you'll have access to the university after that. We'll email it out to everybody.
And I love that. Thank you guys for asking for something like that. We really appreciate it. That lets us know that you're enjoying what we're teaching and that you want to be able to hang on to this, for much longer than what we had originally intended. And that's great. So if you've already paid in full for the class, hey, you get it on So Steady University too. And I love that. I'm so glad that So Steady is so flexible and we're able to do things like that for our students. That's awesome. It really is. I love making these classes for you, and I love that you're interested, that you like what we're doing. Okay, I want to bring that back down. Now, what I've done is put my circle in place. And I'm going to drop my feed dog. Remember, I always want to drop it in the middle, not on the edge. And here's what I'm doing. I want those circles to be about 1/4 of an inch away. So I've grab my pointer, this edge right here inside that point, that circle. I'm going to just put it on my stitched edge right there. And I can see it just to the inside. And what I do, you could start on one edge and go to the other. To me, it's really hard to know exactly how many you want to make. And I think I had to come back in on a couple of them and make a few more. So I'm going to make circles all the way out to kind of this edge right here. And I think it's about 5 or 6 of them. We'll know in just a minute. So here we go. We're going to get started. 1, 2, 3, 4. This is a stitch I will bury, or a thread I will bury. Now, I don't want to run over this one, so let's get it out of the way. I just needed to hold it with the other hand for a moment. And remember, I kept my hand on that template so that I didn't move it. Okay, I'm ready to move my template again. And now I've got this neat little guide right here. Let's see if I can get these threads out of the way enough that you can see that. See this little curved guy right here? If I line that up exactly on top of that
circle I just made, it's gonna be pretty accurate. There it is. Now, always go the opposite direction of the ones I just came, because you have to circle around your pebbles at least halfway around to get a perfect pebble and move on to the next spot. So let's line that up again. Looks great. Apologize if I keep bumping the camera. I'm really trying hard not to, but it's right there at my shoulder. We've made 4 of these. Here comes our 5th one, and this, I'm looking at it and saying, yep, I'm going to need at least one more. This is my 5th one. Here will be my 6th one, and that will be the final one on this side. I think that will be plenty. Okay, and let's pull up bobbin thread. There's my bobbin thread, and I'm going to hold it while I pull this all forward and cut threads. Okay, there I have 6 circles, and I will put 5 on the other side. So let's go ahead and do that. I know I need to be right there where that set of threads comes up. So let's just drop our needle right there. Stacy, do we have a giveaway today? I need to go adjust the air conditioning, and I thought you could talk to him for a moment while I do that.
Oh, sure. You know, what I was thinking about is I noticed that you had that handy little stiletto in your hand. And I thought, well, stilettos are very handy for that detailed work. And we do offer a stiletto in our lineup. So I wanted to go ahead and make that our first giveaway today.
Good choice. I think that's the first time we've given away the stiletto in any of my classes.
I think you're right there. And I think that mostly it's just because there's, so many other things that kind of we think about when we do ruler work, and the stiletto tends to be something we look at a little bit more when we're doing piecing. But it definitely is very helpful for some of that detailed stuff as you're, getting in and doing some of those items. So I think we'll go ahead and make the stiletto our first giveaway today.
And if any of you are teachers out there, it's really invaluable as a pointer. So there you go. There's that. Okay, I'm lining back up again. Whenever you teach a class, you end up with a bunch of blocks. And I'm kicking around ideas because you'll end up with sometimes 3 or 4 of the same block. So I'm kicking around ideas of how I want to put one of these quilts together. There's that pesky fly. He's back, but I've got my fly swatter this time. I'll get him. Okay, let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. I need one more out here, and then we'll be even. Okay, so guys, if you hear a little kabam, you'll know the fly met his match. Hey, there's my bobbin thread right there. Let's pull this right, open our tension bar so it makes it a little bit easier. There we go. Okay, let's see if you can see these now. There's our edge. That's one edge completed. And now all I did to finish out, and I'm looking to see, I can't stitch all the way down to the bottom, but I can do a little bit. You know me and my stippling. I did a little bit of stippling. So let's do, I tell you what, let's put a teardrop right here so that I can stipple around it. Should have thought that through a little better. Remember how we lined up. Remember we're offset. Raise my needle bar. Good old bobbin thread. Hey, this one is going to have a lot of threads to bury, but that's okay. I think they look so much better buried. Now, of course, I'm going to do, on this particular one, I've done stippling, so let's do a little bit of that. I'm just going to start over here on the edge, kind of where I came off of the edge for that straight line. And I'm looking for my thread. Tell you what, let's just raise this up, and there it is right there. And there's my bobbin thread. And I've got a lot of threads to kind of work around, so bear with me while we do that. Remember, when I'm doing stippling, I think of ends. This would be an end, kind of a backward end. This would be an E. Then I just kind of do maybe a swoop and a swirl. Let's do, that's a gingerbread man leg if I ever saw one. Here's an arm. There's another gingerbread leg. So I think of E's and N's and gingerbread men when I do this. You take up some area down there. I'm just kind of covering real estate. It's all I'm doing, filling in. Go back to E's. There's an N. Here's an E. Here's just a swoop and swirl to kind of get in there and fill in some space. I want to work all up in this area. And remember, if you don't feel comfortable with stippling, we have templates called Winding Way, and they come in several sizes. And you can actually do this work with the Winding Way templates if that makes you more comfortable. I do recommend when you go up to sew or across to sew, wherever you sew. I used to go upstairs to sew, and I would practice for just a few minutes before I actually started piecing whatever it was I was working on. And that really helped build my skills and make it easier for me to do the free motion quilting and the ruler work that you see me doing. does take practice. I was not an overnight accomplishment. I did practice. All right, almost have that little area filled in. And then I can pull this away and show it to you. Oh, there's a perfect little gingerbread man leg. Do 4 tiny stitches right there on that little edge that I'm going to cut away. So that way, whenever I'm cutting threads, I don't worry about them raveling. There's a bunch of little stitches. Let me grab this. Bunch of little bitty stitches right inside there that should help it hold it in place. So raise my needle bar, raise my presser foot, ready to cut that and put it over here where you can see what we've done. As you can see, we've got our spin effects, our swirl, our spin out rather, where we're spinning. This is part that would probably be cut away. And I know I've shown you this a million times, but let's do it one more time. To fill in just a little more of the space, all I would do is do some little zigzags, kind of curvy zigzags. If you're not comfortable doing free motion curvy zigzags, grab your curved ruler, this one right here, and just kind of work your way down. Move it about 1/8 of an inch every time. Don't move it a full 1/4 of an inch. You're going to have a really big curve if you do. Just like this right here is what all I would do. Let's just put this right here. And like I said, if I felt like I needed something to help me with that curved line, I would put this right here. Roll it to the back just a little bit, not much, just enough that it makes a difference. It's just a little slower this way, but it's a lot more precise. You can see I'm not rolling it very much, maybe 1/8 of an inch. Okay, so we'll pull that away and go ahead and finish, but I'll show you. You really can't tell too much of a difference, and that's a good thing. And I just made 4 tiny stitches at the bottom. I'm going to cut those. Not going to worry about burying them. Let's bring that back up. And I can cut those threads. Now bring back the completed one so you can see a little bit better what we've done. That would be your completed block. There we go. Okay, let's move this one out. That way we can move on. This is Milky Way. This is in the center. I've marked a center line, and this is that little flower petal that we've been using so much right here. And I've used the bigger one, and I start in the very center and do this one, and then I come to the next one and do the next one and do the last one. And then I flip it around, do the same thing again. So here's what it looks like drawn out. You've got 1.5 inches on either side of your middle line. I know I've got one. Here it is. Here's one drawn out on the fabric, and we'll get started. This will be one I'll work on in a few minutes because I like to move y'all along fairly quickly since we have a lot to cover today. How many of you kick your shoes off when you sew? Just curious. I do, and I forget about it, and I take it for granted, really. Now I'm going to show you because I forgot to do it earlier. Let's pull this up. Here are the layers that we're working with. This is my top layer, and this is this shiny that you see is my TempLee Fuse. That is awesome stuff. You can get it on our website. This is my reveal, and I cannot remember the name of it, but I think it's just beautiful. It's a very watercolory looking fabric. Here's my cotton batting. It's just a medium weight. And I've recently found it where I can actually buy it by the roll, and it is 18 inches wide by 30 yards long. Uh, that's a dream for me, a dream come true for me, I should say. Of course, this is my back fabric because I use a lot of smaller pieces of batting, as you know, because a lot of my blocks are 12.5 inches. So that was wonderful to not have to take a big 60-inch or a twin size piece of batting and cut it up into smaller pieces. I like that. So that was wonderful. Oh, there's my pesky fly again. Of course he's on my fabric. I can't swat him there. All right, the first thing I want to do is I'm in the center of my block, the very center, and I want to make my first petal, and I'll do 4 tiny stitches because I will not be cutting threads on this one. I'm coming back into the center 16 times, so there's no need to bury it. Oh, pesky fly. All right, I want to reach back there and cut those threads and get them out of my way. So I'm going to lift my presser foot up, but not my needle. Leave it buried so that nothing moves. Second petal. Shooing the fly away. Why is it he's got a whole big room that he can buzz around in, but no, he's got to be over here where I am to pester me? Why is that? I don't have any food. I don't know what the problem is. All right, this will be the 4th petal. Now I'm ready to put the other number 6 through number 5 through number 8 petals in, and you notice I don't have any lines marked. You can mark it if you want to. I prefer not to, and all I'm doing is making sure that I'm equal distant. And I've laid my pointer down. Oh, fun. Okay, let's use this pair of scissors then. It'll turn up. I just make sure that this line right here, there's one on either side, I just make sure I'm equal distant from the edge of the last petal, the edge of the last petal over here. I just kind of line it up. Also kind of look down through here and make sure those are all lined up and that they look like they're equal distant. That will give me a really good petal. And if I'm off ever so slightly, nobody's going to know it, but maybe you, because I'm not telling. There's 1, 2, 3, 'Here's my 4th one. And I'll do about 4 little stitches at the end just to kind of lock stitch that in place. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now I'm ready to start off and go to the next petal. So I want to raise my needle, raise my presser foot. I want to drop my needle right there. And all I'm doing is just enough to hold it in place right there. I'm going to actually back it up. I'm not even going to make a full stitch. So there I am. Let's see, I need to turn this around. Need to line back up. There we go. Okay, that's going to have me right on the edge where I'll be touching that other petal. Can you see that? Here's the straight line back here that I'm following on my drawn straight line. So I'm ready to just lift my needle back up, and I didn't attach it, and I'm just going to pull it down. Actually, I'm going to disengage my tension disc so it's a little bit easier, and then I'm ready to stitch. I'll do 4 tiny stitches, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'm ready to stitch around. Notice I've got a thread right there. That's okay. Pull this around, do the next one. Didn't like that thread back in the back. That's okay. It did fine. Now, I don't have a line over at the side to make my side petals, but I really do. I've got this line right here. Let's get a something point with. I have this line right up here, and I have the drawn line that's right here. So all I do is pull that in place, check the other side, and make sure that looks like it's lined up very well, and it is. Made that side petal. Let's do the same thing again. Line up in the back. Sorry, I'm bumping the camera. I may need to raise it a little bit. It's kind of where my shoulder is. Okay, that's my 4 petals, and now I'm gonna lift this up so I can get it off of my shoulder, so maybe I don't keep bumping it, and that might make it a little better for you. My granddaughter, she gets her mommy or daddy's cell phone, and she walks and talks when you're looking at the ceiling, and you're looking at the floor, and you're looking at the table, and you're looking at her face. It's can make you pretty dizzy. She hasn't learned you need to kind of hold it in place to do that. It's fun though. She's 4. Okay, we've got 1 petal left to put in. Okay, do the 1, 2, 3, 4. And now I'm going to lift up my needle bar, lift up my presser foot, and I'm going to do the exact same thing again. I'm going to put my needle down right there and just drive it in just enough that it kind of holds it in place. That's all I want to do. Turn this back around, lower my presser foot, and then I'm ready to make my next petal. And these might actually end up being ever so slightly into the cutting area, but you know what? It's going to happen. I forgot to jump to the middle, but that's okay. I have an extra set of stitches on one side. oh well. I won't tell anybody if you don't. Yeah, some of that's going to be just inside the my cutting line, and that's okay. Okay, do the same thing again. Oh, sorry, really bumped it that time. Line up with those straight lines across, and we're going to stitch that. Do the same thing again. I'm lining up that straight line across here with the straight line that's drawn in. Now you could also, this one that's kind of going to overhang a little bit, you could actually for that petal maybe make this little petal instead. And you know, I think I may go in and rip that out and do that so that I don't have to worry about any of those threads coming unraveled in the edge of my quilt. Just put a little short petal in there. I think that would work just fine. Two more petals. We're almost done. And then I would go to the other side and do the exact same thing. Four tiny stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4. Needle up, presser bar up, pull up the bobbin thread. There it is. All right, and I can cut those. I don't plan to bury them since I've come into that center 16 times. Here we go. Like I said, this one's a little bit long, so I probably will come in with this little guy right here and replace that. I think that would be the best thing. I'm going to do the exact same thing on this side, except that I'm not going to because you already know how to do it. But I would put my needle, I'd put this in place and just put my needle down right there, just touching that edge. Turn this around, drop that in the middle, and then here we go. Pick my needle back up and come to the center and start and do the other side. But now we're ready to move on. I think you have made so many of these little flowers that I think you've got that. So let's go ahead and move this one out of the way and get one that I've kind of caught up for you. Remember these lines we drew here. And I'm looking for my stiletto. What did I do with that thing? There it is. Yay. A nice pointer here. Okay. Remember these lines we had drawn out here? Those are going to become straight lines. So let's go ahead and do a couple of those on this particular one, and that way you'll understand what we're doing here. I want that wide enough that I can actually cut the inside of it. So I'm coming just to the outside, and I'm going to needle down, needle up, and bring my bobbin thread up. Oh, I didn't catch that one. Let's try it again. It's very tiny. There we go. All right, put my needle down right back there. And grab my straight ruler. And of course I've moved it. I have it covered up. Okay, these couple of lines are really important to your the next designs we're going to do. Put my presser foot down. Now you need your spacing gauge. I want to line up on that edge. Let's see, let's get this out where you can see a little better. Here's my spacing gauge. I want to make sure that I'm right there. See where that edge is? Because my ruler foot is going to be, my needle is going to be 1/4 of an inch away, but I want to stitch all the way down this line. So here we go. And I'm ready to stitch that. Holding those threads, got a good grip on my ruler. I'm going to do about 4 tiny stitches right there. And I broke thread. Let's just rethread this really quick, see what happened. Raise that, raise that. Kind of made a funny, it made a funny sound. And there we go, we had a bird's nest in the back. I'm going to pull my bobbin out really quick. That's really not, it's pulling tight. Maybe getting close to the end of my bobbin, but I wouldn't think so. All right, you need to watch me do this. So let's peel this back so you can see what might be going on. Probably nothing going on with my bobbin. I probably just need to pull it out and just reset it.
So Anne,
Uh-huh.
someone was asking, do you have a recommendation for the winding way template that's equal to the stippling you're creating?
Yeah, it would be the smallest one. And Stacy, I know there's about 3 or 4 sizes. I'm not sure exactly what inch length it would be. It's that smallest one though, would be perfect. Okay, let's put this back in. Make sure it's going to move okay. Yeah, I don't know. You know, sometimes our machines, sometimes they have minds of their own, and they just kind of act a little goofy. My thread's pulling off at the top. Okay. I hope that answered your question on the winding way. Get the smallest one to do what I was doing. And I've heard a rumor that once you've done that for a little while with that winding way, you kind of get to where you can do it without the ruler. But it's a really good teaching tool, kind of help you get your confidence kind of tool. So I do recommend it. There we go. Let's start this again and see what happens. I think it'll be fine this time. Grab my gloves. Now I want to start right back at the same spot I did a couple of minutes ago. Put my needle down right there and just bring it down and up and bring up my bobbin thread. There it is. And this time I'll be sure and hang on to it. That might have been some of the problem. Always make sure and I've done this more than once, laid my ruler down and my staple tape will be on the top instead of the bottom. And what happens is you can slide that around really, really well. Whereas if you have your staple tape down where it's supposed to be, it doesn't slide. If you need to put more staple tape on it than what you see on mine, that's fine. You should have plenty in your package to put what you need. Now you don't need like whole big pieces of it. You need little 1/4 inch pieces. There's that fly again. I'm doing 4 tiny stitches and then I'm going to stitch. And of course it's going to stitch perfectly. Look at that. A little extra noise in it, but that's okay. Adjust my ruler. Make sure I'm spacing gauge is good. I'll stitch that all the way out to the edge. I'm going to do about 4 tiny stitches right there and then just kind of do a loop out. I want to come about a 1/2 inch away. Pull this back towards me. Remember, I have that luxury because I'm working on a nice 14 by 14 piece of fabric, or even the 15 by 14. There's my there's my fly again. My husband and I are going to have real serious talk about this door opening thing. 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got my ruler on the first line inside. That's my stiletto right here. I've got it resting on my stitched line. That's giving me a 1/2 inch away, which is exactly what I wanted. And I'm going to cut away that 1/2 inch. Four tiny stitches right there, and then I can stitch out and just kind of be out of the way. Cut it, get everything out of my way. One more thread. Oh, no, it's cut. Now we're going to do our outside border, and I want you to, or not outside border, but the outside decoration of this. Pay really particular attention to this because it is actually what we're going to use for our border. So watch what I do. The only difference will be on your border. You get to start on one end and go all the way to the other. You don't have to mark a center line or anything like that. So makes it way fun. So here we go. Now, when you're working with this little guy, get my stiletto. Here is my center line. I don't know if you can see. Let's bring this up where you can see it. It's right beside my stable tape. I have stable tape on both sides of this. I'm pushing this out of the way so you can see a little better. Here's my center line right there, and there's a piece of stable tape almost on top of it. So I probably need to move that back so you see easier. Now over here, this is not my center line. It looks like it wants to be, but it is not. If I lined up this and this, I would be so far off it wouldn't even be funny. So actually come in about the second short line, and that's going to be your center line. So let me get my, okay, yep, I see what I did. All right, I want, and there again, Leonie West thought of everything. See this line right out here? Comes all the way across. That's what I want to be my stitching line. That's where I want my stitching to start. And I'm looking at, let me go grab my other one. No, I think I wanted 1/4 inch away. I do. You bring this one over so you can see it a little better. See how I'm 1/4 inch away? I want to do that same thing on this one. I don't have to. I could start right here if I wanted to, and that would be just fine. But I kind of want to follow along with what I've been doing all along and what's in the instructions that you're going to get. So let's go ahead and make sure that is about 1/4 inch up. So how am I going to do that? My spacing gauge. That's going to let me decide where is 1/4 inch. Right there. That looks pretty good. And after you've done this for a while too, you'll know what is 1/4 inch looks like. But I always still check it anyway, just in case. And I'm actually going to this 1, 2, 3. The fourth line is going to be my center line, not the third one like I originally thought. So let's go to the fourth 1, 2, 3, 4 line. I'm going to bring this up 1/4 of an inch. I'm going to make sure I'm 1/4 of an inch and no more than that. Yep, need to move it down just a hair. You can also put arrows so you'll know exactly where to start each time, if that helps you out. Drop my presser foot out here in the middle, bring it in place, bring up my bobbin thread. Okay, I just pull my threads underneath so that they're not in my way, lining up everything. And if you'll notice, I'm kind of offset over here. I am a good, 3/4 of an inch away from that center line, and that's right where I want to be. That's going to get me lined up exactly. So let's do stitches. These are some I'll bury, so I won't do 4 tiny stitches. Just start off stitching. When I get to the top hook, I stop. Let's pull this towards me. I will flip my ruler. That's why I needed staple tape on both sides. I'm going to line that up again, and you can actually draw a line in here if you want to, because that looks like I'm going to be a little bit short. It's going to bring me way up. Hang on. Let's pull these out of the way. Okay, let's do that 4th line. Okay, I came over to, that's what, yeah. The 3rd line is actually your line. So this one may be slightly off. That's okay. Just from the angle I was looking at it, it just didn't look right. Now I want the smaller one. Hook it in place. Line everything up. And I would probably draw myself 1/4 of an inch. I did not, and I'm struggling with it. So draw yourself 1/4 of an inch. And you're just going to switch back and forth between the 2 templates. You started in the middle. We're going to work all the way down. Some of these butt right up next to the one behind it. Some of them don't. I don't let that bother me. It's just part, to me, it's part of the design. Okay, make sure everything's lining up. And there again, I think I would draw that 1/4 inch out. I think it would help you a lot. And I'll show you what I mean in just a moment when I get through with this one. love this design. I've used it a lot. I think it's a very unusual design. There's a lot of fun things you can do with it too. Okay, we're at the end. Let's do this last one. Some of that one's going to be cut away. So right here on this line, I'm going to stitch across it 3 or 4 times. But I'm going to go ahead and complete the design. Stitch across it 3 or 4 times. That's where it's going to be cut. When I hit that line, I'm going to stitch across it 3 or 4 times and just complete my design, even though I know that's going to be cut away. Okay, there is half of the design right there. Now I've got a whole one done, so let's go ahead and pull it around, because we did something kind of unique on the edge of this one. And what I meant a few minutes ago, if I were you, I would take my ruler, and hopefully you've all gotten a Choco liner by now, and I would go ahead and put me a line in. Right, like that. So you have something that you know that's where you're supposed to stop each time when you're putting in the this right here. Okay, I think that I didn't do it, and I wished I had. It's been a while since I worked on this particular block, and I guess sometimes I forget. Okay, the design on this one. Let me bring the original one around. I did something a little unique right here. We've done it on another block. All I did was come in with my straight edge. Where is it? Right there. And I randomly marked where I would like something to start and stop. So let's do that on this one. And I kind of went at a diagonal each time. So let's say I want my pebble to stop right there. And then let's come back in, and this is all going to be straight lines. So let's put another diagonal line. And you see, I'm not measuring. I'm just deciding, okay, hey, I want something to start and stop right here. I'm just, each time I turn my ruler, I make sure that I've got it on a good diagonal. Okay, now those are my diagonal lines that I would use for the border treatment that we're going to do. First thing I want to do would be maybe work with my straight ruler. And let's see. I'll come over here and start. Maybe that way I can kind of end up on the line I have drawn out here. So I'm starting on an edge. Make sure that's tight. Yeah. So what I'm doing is starting out here on the edge, and I'm going to do some diagonal lines. Okay. We'll start out here in what we call no man's land. Drop our presser foot. I'm going to start on that seam. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and I'm going to stitch in just until I touch one of those hearts, and then I'm going to move my ruler ever so slightly. And if I were on this side of my ruler, that might help you a little bit. If I come to this point right here, right there, that's going to give me 1/4 of an inch zigzag. Well, that sounds pretty good, so I'll just do that. turn this around where you can see it a little better. I'll keep doing that. I'll keep using that point. It's right here. That's going to give me a nice little zigzag. Stitch to my drawn line. I stitch to my stitch line each time. Use my ruler, get 1/4 of an inch. Or close enough. Can push my ruler behind me. Keep going. Keep going. I don't have a tight grip on my ruler. Actually, you could wiggle a little bit, and that would probably still be okay. Here we go. Move this around. See my zigzags I've got going on right there. Now all I'll do is put my ruler right here. That didn't far enough to get over in here, so let's just kind of do one more. That should just kind of catch the edge of those little designs right there. Now, I have a pretty good gap right here. If that bothers me, I would probably, will show you how I would fix that. I wouldn't really worry about it very much, but if it bothered me, I'd just come in and do another little line right here. Another little line over
A couple
here.
questions are coming in about the class on the university. And I just
Sure.
wanted to confirm with everyone that the class is not yet on the university. So it's probably going to be a few weeks before it's available. But we will absolutely email everybody the coupon code. And, I definitely am happy to take you guys through the process of how you'll find the class when it's there, just so you know how to get to the university and everything here in a bit.
Okay, let me do a couple of pebbles, and then I'll let you take that back over. How about that? Because I really would like for them to be able to do that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so I've kind of filled in this little area a little bit with just a zigzag, and now we're going to do pebbles. If you're not comfortable with pebbles, get out your 1/4 inch and your 1/2 inch circles. You're between the lines, and use those. They're the perfect size, and I would just alternate between the two. That's all you need to do, and then you'll have beautiful, perfect circles. We've got you covered as far as tools. We have probably over 500 designs out there. So if you think it, we probably already have it out there for you. Ruler work really has changed my world. I get the perfection from it that I'm looking for. And then, of course, I get to come along and embellish mine with the free motion quilting. So I get kind of the best of both worlds. I'm going to just kind of give you all the way back down so you know how we started and stopped.
There was a
And then I'm
question that
gonna
came in
turn
a
it
little
step.
bit ago, Anne.
Okay.
So it might be difficult to remember which step this was, but it was, about 10 minutes ago. And she said, was the return line 1/4 inch or 1/2 inch?
I think she's asking the return line on this, maybe. And it is
Okay.
1/4 of an inch. Now, if she's asking about the return line, let's come over here. This one is a 1/2 inch. This one is 1/4 of an inch. So hopefully I answered it 3 ways and with 3 different designs. And hopefully that answered that question. All right, I'm going to let you tell them a little bit about how to get to Sew Steady University, because I would do my pebbles up to this line right here, and then I would start back again doing my zigzag lines, and that's really all I would do on this one.
Okay, excellent. Yeah,
And
so let me go
left
ahead and
this
take
open.
everybody over
Okay.
to the page here. So I'm
Okay.
just going to head over to our website because everybody knows how to get to the Sew Steady website. And then I'm going to click on the Sew Steady logo at the very top left corner. And when you do that, it actually pops up kind of the intro page again. So notice that this is the pop-up that comes up. It says, get educated with Sew Steady. So you can click the university there. The other way you can get to the university is you can click the downward on education, the down arrow, and then we have a Sew Steady University link right there. Both of them take you to a page within our website called just kind of our Sew Steady University overview page. So the quickest way to access the university classes from here is just to click the logo here or click the name university. And that's actually redirecting you to our Teachable page where all of our classes are loaded. So now we're on the Sew Steady Teachable. We call it Sew Steady University at teachable.com. And this is where you're going to find the classes. So you can look for classes a bunch of different ways, but I always just click all courses. And then you can type in the name of the class that you're looking for. This is going to be called Flower. Whoops. I don't know what I just did. Let's see if we're still looking at the same thing here. Okay. Well, that's not what I wanted. So we're still looking at, okay, so we are looking at the same thing. So we're going to type in flower power, and then we're going to hit search. So right now there's nothing under flower power. The other way that we would find it is we would click on Ann Moore's. So you can go to author, and Ann Moore is one of our authors. And you're going to see everything that Ann Moore has in her university folder. So these are all the classes you can take currently, but what's going to happen in the next few weeks is that we're going to have the Flower Power series loaded as a class. So that's the one you're going to access the full class, but that's the one you'll access to be able to get use your coupon code. Now, one other thing I wanted to show you is that when you're into the university, you are going to want to go ahead and log in. And let's see here. I don't know what my password is. This could be tricky. I hope it's this one. Nope. All right. I may not be able to actually load a class right now and show you how that works because I'll have to remember what my password is. But what we'll do is we'll just click that. Then in order to load the class, you're going to scroll down and you're going to go to the very bottom where it says enroll now. And when you do the enroll now, it takes you to this checkout spot where you're going to go ahead and type in your information and agree to payment. And then there's going to be a coupon code. Normally when we're logged in, because we actually have to log in to do this, where you're going to type in the coupon code, and it's going to be in this top left-hand corner. So coupon code will be right here when you're logged in to be able to do that. And so it'll be a free course. You're going to use the coupon that we're going to email you to access it. So there was a question that came in about the border. It says, would you border the same process as the block? Would the border be the same process as the block?
Yes, it is. And we're going to describe that. I cut my blocks and I've got my notes here. And you're going to get these as a handout, but I'll have to work on it this weekend. My border, you're going to put the body of your quilt together and then you're going to measure. And mine came out 40, probably 37 and a half inches by 48. 49 and a half inches. So I cut my border pieces 5 inches wide and I cut them about 42 inches long. That's going to be longer than what I need. I'll need 2 of those like that. And then I'm going to cut 2 that are about 54 inches by 5 inches. And you can layer those. Now, this sample piece that I have that I'm working on today, I don't have any reveal fit fabric behind it because it's not a piece I'm actually going to use. When I do make my borders, I will make reveal fabric to go behind it. But right now, I've got enough of these blocks that I can probably make a full-size quilt. And I'm thinking about doing that. So of course, I don't want to do my borders until I know that. And I'm also thinking about putting them together on point, which means I'll have to do some additional blocks and that are kind of a triangle shape. So all of that you'll get to see later on, but those are things I'm kicking around right now. So here I've got 5 inches, cut. And then I've just cut, I don't know, about a 12-inch piece. But you're going to need to be 42 inches long and about 54 inches long because you're going to stitch all the way across it just like I'm about to do. And then you're going to put it up against your quilt and you're going to measure and you're going to cut away and measure it exactly. You want it to be the exact same length as the side of your quilt, the top of your quilt, your side and your bottom. I put a cornerstone in each one of my corners. The reason I do that, and the cornerstone is just the little flower design that we've been doing all along. I do that because I don't care to miter edges with the quilt as you go method. And I don't want to quilt make one border long and then the inside, the edge that it butts up against be, you know, if you were doing a part like this. I don't want to just butt those edges up together and have, to me, that just, for the kind of quilt that is, it would not look right. So that's why I've done cornerstones in each corner. I make those, I cut them 5 by 5. I put my little flower right in the center, and then I cut away and make them 4 inches square. And then I'm able to piece those into my borders and then attach them to my quilt. And I will, when we get through, I'll walk over with the camera and show you that corner again. But right now, here is all I do on my my border. Let's see, let's get that out of the way. I have an extra line drawn in here because I need to be able to just line up perfectly. So I come all the way out to the edge. Let's see if I go this way. Nope, I need to go this way. You need your template, the bulk of your template going in the direction that you want to quilt. So in other words, I'm going to stitch this way and stop. I'm going to flip my template over. Let's go ahead and do that like that. Hook it back in place right there. And it's going to stitch me and bring me down here. So here I am. I'm going to line this up right there and line. I've drawn extra lines in here just so I know exactly where I am and can line up perfectly every single time. Super simple. You'll have your reveal fabric on the inside. You will have used your TempLee fuse to fuse it really well. And like I've shown y'all, I've washed my TempLee fuse on a gentle cycle and it did perfectly. Now on my bags that I'm making, I'm using TempLee fuse, but I'm only fusing the part of my bag that would be away from my body. In other words, the front of my bag, because I feel like my bag, those raw edges rubbing constantly against, say, a pair of blue jeans is going to kind of rub the edges up. And I don't want that, of course. Here we go. But I'm not going to be rubbing on a quilt that I'm going to put on the top of my bed or at the foot of my bed. Okay, there's one of them done completely. Put the next one in. That's the little guy. I love to alter them. I think they just look so unique when you do that. And you can make yours all the same size if you want to. You can make a shorter border if you want to, or a narrower border, I should say. You don't want it shorter. You want to make sure it's going to work. Make sure that lines up every time. Looks like it wants to be. Here we go. Sometimes it's going to come over the edge just a little bit. That does not bother me. Just switching templates every time I've made a complete teardrop. This is called continuous hearts. Now the two outside lines that I have can be my cutaway lines, or I can use a ruler and just make sure that I'm exactly 4 inches, because what's going to happen is as you're stitching, you're going to draw your fabric up just a little bit each time. So know that that's going to happen. And this is just a long straight run. It's kind of mindless. Puts you on some really good music that you like, or a TV show. I watch a lot of comedies when I stitch because I can't follow like a drama or something like that. I can't really follow something like that. So comedies, yeah, I don't care so much if I miss a punchline or something was funny and I didn't realize it was supposed to be whatever. That doesn't bother me. But just, yeah, drama, I can't pay attention. And I'd rather so. Yeah, I want to make sure I have time to walk back over to the quilt. So let's go ahead and stop it right there. And I will bring this around and show you how much I've gotten done. You can see it's just kind of mindless. You just walk it all the way across that straight line. And then here's where I would cut away, right here and right here. And that would be my 4 inches. Now I'm going to walk you back over to the quilt itself because I want to show you those cornerstones. And I'll cover up because it's probably messy in the way, along the way. It's a working studio. What can I say? There's my cornerstone right there. Can you see that? You see how I've put it together? This is my long straight piece that I've used all the way down the quilt. And then going across, this would be a short piece. And then there's a long straight piece right here. But where I've joined in my quilt, I usually put my long straight pieces going up and down and my shorter ones going across. So I just wanted to bring that over to you and let you see that. And I'll step back from the quilt just so you can see that corner. And now you have flower power. And you'll have the handout hopefully Monday or Tuesday. Monday's a holiday, so probably Tuesday. Stacy, what else do we have?
Well, honestly, I think that sums it up. You got it done in just over 2 hours, Anne. Very impressive. That was a lot to cover today. So all of the previously accessed classes and any classes that you know are part of the full series that you bought into, you can continue to access using the links that we originally gave you for another 4 weeks. So you have 4 more weeks to get those. And then in the next few weeks, we're going to be getting the Flower Power series on to the Sew City University, and we'll be emailing out a link to the university class with the coupon code so you can download and access that class series. So stay tuned for that. That'll be coming here in the next couple of weeks, probably 3 weeks, to be honest. And in the meantime, we'll be reminding you to take advantage of those last minute exclusive offers that you have. I will give everybody a heads up. We do have a price increase on all of our Sew City tables coming at the end of July. So if you are looking for a Sew City table, I would say that purchasing in July is a good time to do it. Because there's going to be a small price increase that goes on in August. And other than that, I think that we are set. We appreciate everybody being part of the series. We got the final handout to everyone. Anne's going to have one last handout to go for the borders. Is that right, Anne?
Yes, that is correct.
And we'll be emailing that out to everybody here probably in the next week sometime. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay.
That's when I'll have it ready.
And
I'll
so
do
stay
it this
tuned for
weekend.
that. We'll be announcing the winner to the stiletto, and that will be coming via email here early next week as well. I'm going to go ahead and say that we're going to give away 3 stilettos. So we'll be 3 lucky winners for the stiletto for this class today. So that should cover us for getting some extra special winners, and we'll be looking forward to that. So have a wonderful 4th of July, everyone. We so appreciate you joining us for this series, and stay tuned for some upcoming classes with Anne. Check out our Sew Study events page to know what's coming up. We've got some really fun stuff for the Christmas and the summer. Anne's got a class offered next Wednesday, I believe, which will be her first class in the series. And we'll look forward to having you be part of that with us.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
For all of you who participated in Flower Power. I had so much fun making this quilt, and I had a lot of fun teaching it to you. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody.